I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thank you for joining me on July 20th, 2011 for your reality news check. We're going to begin with your headlines. The House passes the first debt reduction deal, but what does it really mean? We'll tell you about it. Also today, the banks just keep whining. They're this big whiners about money, but wait till you hear how good they really have it. Also today, investment banking firm Goldman Sachs just won't help anybody. Can you imagine that they would be involved in layoffs? Oh yeah, wait till you hear how much money they make. And then in sports, former players sue the NFL over head injuries. And then finally today, all I could say is, what a pistol. What a pistol. All right, here we go with your stories. We're going to begin for you with the deficit reduction plan on our debt ceiling watch. The U.S. House has passed the Cut, Cap, and Balance deficit reduction plan. That is the plan that was backed by Tea Party conservatives. It does impose strict caps on all future federal spending while making it significantly tougher to raise taxes. The solution favored, of course, by hardline conservatives. Now this, even though a CBS News poll taken this week also says that 2/3 of Americans say any agreement should include spending reductions and tax hikes. I don't think they listen to the public at all, the Tea Party conservatives. This, we should tell you, is the deficit reduction plan that has been dismissed by President Obama. We should also tell you the president's behind the so-called Gang of Six plan, drafted by 3 Democratic and 3 Republican senators. It cuts the nation's debt by about $3.7 trillion over the next 10 years. Obama called the plan by the Gang of Six senators broadly consistent, he says, with his own approach to the current debt ceiling crisis. This is the reason he has said this, is because the Gang of Six plan does mix tax changes, entitlement reforms, and spending reductions. Now, the question is it all happening in time? Well, 2 top Democrats say no, it isn't. They say there is not enough time before the government needs to borrow more money on August 2nd to pass the comprehensive Gang of Six plan. There's a lot that the government has to do before this plan can be passed, okay? In business news, the banks say the U.S. government may be suffocating, oh, what a joke, suffocating the American economic recovery through over-regulation. No, sweetheart, we have not regulated you enough, okay? All right, but our Treasury Secretary, Timothy Geithner, says he is not concerned about what they have to say. All right, he says big banks should stop complaining because, quote, their interests are not perfectly aligned with the broad interests of the American economy. You got that, unquote. You got that right. He adds, quote, American banks have much more capital relative to risk than they had before the crisis. We know that because they took all the houses. And they are in a very good position to thrive, he says, not just to manage. With that in mind, here's how good it is for your local neighborhood bank that's been screwing you for the last 3 years. And they're using your money to get the job done. Listen to this. JP Morgan Chase posted a quarterly profit of $5.4 billion. That is up 13% from the period a year earlier. Citigroup also had a strong showing. And over at Wells Fargo, oh yeah, this is where it really gets good. That is the nation's biggest consumer bank. Let me tell you that. Profit rose 29% in the second quarter from the period a year earlier as loan losses eased significantly. The bank reported a record second quarter earnings of $3.9 billion or 70 cents a share, beating the 69 cents a share consensus estimate by analysts. San Francisco-based Wells Fargo Bank emerging from the financial crisis as one of the nation's strongest banks. And if you can find one person whose home loan was modified by Wells Fargo, I'd like to meet him. Because everybody I know who's trying to get their loan modified, nada, nothing, zip. And many of them have been trying for over a year. So they ought to be ashamed of themselves. Now, Bank of America, there's some trouble there. A loss of $8.8 billion in the second quarter. Bank of America having to pay out huge payments to settle legal claims related to, of course, its troubled mortgage division. It screwed all the people. It deserves it. The bank agreed in June to pay $8.5 billion to a group of more than 20 big investors, not you, these are big investors, who bought billions of dollars worth of soured mortgage investments. The deal is still awaiting a judge's approval. It does represent the single biggest settlement tied to the subprime mortgage crisis. The bank still has exposure to lawsuits by mortgage insurers and other claims from private mortgage investors, okay? Also today, take note, freshman Democrat Hanson Clark of Michigan, here's what he says. You better pay attention to him. Quote, you want this government to get out of debt, then you get out of debt personally. Stop the spending. He says stop the borrowing, stop overconsumption, stop buying things you don't need with money you don't have. He says, so I'm going to ask every American right now, get out your credit cards, cut them up, and free yourself. He says, don't count on this Congress to help you. This Congress already voted to end Medicare. They're flirting with disaster on this debt ceiling. Unquote. Absolutely. We have to show the banks that they need us more than we need them. If we don't show them that, they're going to continue to screw us. If we don't spend, they don't make any money, so stop spending. All right, in investment banking, Goldman Sachs reporting profit of $1.05 billion. You betcha, okay? Apparently, this is a weak showing that reportedly reflects the firm's move to reduce risk and cut back their trading activities. Goldman is usually considered one of Wall Street's biggest risk takers. Now it's playing it safer. Its value at risk, which is roughly what the firm could lose on an average day because of bad market conditions, guess what? It fell to $101 million in the second quarter, down 10% from the first 3 months of the year. That's what they can lose in one day. And they don't help anybody. They don't help anybody. It's just so sad. Anyway, we should tell you that in case you're feeling sorry for them, let me tell you this, they made a lot of money on our backs. Net revenue in investment banking was $1.5 billion, 54% higher than the second quarter of 2010 in an attempt to reduce overall costs with all the money they've made. What are they going to do? They're going to lay people off. They're going to lay off employees and cut $1 billion in non-compensation expenses in the next 11 months. The only thing I'll say is this. They won't take a hit for anybody. They don't care about anybody. They will not take a hit. They will not let those people work. They don't care. But the only thing that might save is if they lay off people at the highest level, then maybe they'll see what's really going on and we'll get a little bit of relief. Okay, in sports. 75 former professional football players suing the NFL, saying the NFL intentionally concealed the harmful effects of game-related concussions, and they say they did it for 90 years. The players say the NFL has known about the effects of brain concussion since the 1920s, but didn't release the information until 2010. All right, and finally today, Rupert Murdoch's wife, what a pistol. She sat quietly behind her husband during yesterday's hearings in Parliament, but when a man in a checkered shirt burst into the room and slammed a phone pie over Rupert Murdoch's face, she swung into action and she decked him. Okay, she decked him. So I gotta hand it to her. But let me say this: how did that man get in there? I think everybody in town must be saying it's time to get Rupert Murdoch. We're sick of him. We've had it. They let the guy in with the pie. Go do what you have to do and get it over with. Meanwhile, today David Cameron is testifying at the hearings before Parliament, saying that if he had known that Andy Coulson had done this, he would never have hired him. Those are your stories. I'm Carol Angela Davis. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. This is your Reality News Check for July 20th, 2011. Have a good day.